She could not countenance the testimony of her eyes. There he stood, alone, in the shadows, clearly, somehow believing himself invisible, yet never so seen and vulnerable. It had long been taken as truth that an Ilkhan, having conquered Terra, would be radiant in his triumphant glory, and yet Alaric stood there, half masked in shadow, fast-moving emotions playing over his face, obscuring his true feelings as camouflage hides a terrifying war machine from its enemies. The man that all men feared stood there, his lower lip quivering for a heartbeat, as if he wanted to ask the universe if his great victory, the victory men had fought and died for eons, was all there was, or if there was more, a greater destiny to which he must rise. Then he turned, barely, a fraction of a centimeter, catching the sight of her in the corner of his eye. Her breath caught, her breast heaved. The laces of her cooling vest slackened for a heartbeat. The vest slipped, revealing too much, and yet she wished she could reveal more. For Alaric, as he stood there, as he became again the master of war who had done the unthinkable, the wan light slithered over his muscles, playing across unblemished flesh, rendering him a golden god whose power to decide the fate of all humanity could not be denied. He was triumph made manifest in flesh. Through him the destiny of humanity would be fulfilled, and, though words remained frozen in her throat, she knew in that instant that she wanted nothing more, could know no greater glory, than to be the vessel through which his future would flow. She found him alone in his office, which was surprisingly spare and Spartan in appointment. Here the man who had attained the pinnacle of human achievement sat in a camp chair, lights low, hair still pasted to his forehead from the sweat and the press of his neural helmet from battle. His cooling vest hung from the back of that chair, and he had stretched his long, well-muscled legs out. His elbows rested on the chair's arms, his fingertips pressed together as he stared past them towards the back of the room. She turned to leave, not daring to disturb him, hoping he would not notice her intrusion, but deeply desperate that he should. Where any other man would have slumped in the chair, seized by the exhaustion of the post-battle interlude, Alaric remained pensive and focused. His mind raced. She could tell from the steadiness of his stare and the way the muscles in his bare arms and legs rippled in involuntary response to his speeding cogitation. No, do not go. She almost feared she had not heard him, or heard him incorrectly, her heart fluttering. She hovered in the doorway. Yes, my Ilkhan? It is times like these that the enormity of the victory at Terra comes to me. I find the post-battle clarity of mind to be sharp, as if I have passed through the tissue of mortality where perspective grants true insight. There are times I am certain this experience is one I, alone, have had. That great responsibility crushes in on me. His words, uttered softly and distantly, sank a icy misericord into her breast. She longed to fly to him, to gather him in her arms, to hold him, and fold him in warmth and tell him that he, alone, could shoulder such a burden. But she could not, as it was not her place. She would shame him, and shame herself, and that she could never do. At times I think my rise impossible. My parents, I confide this in you with complete confidence in your fidelity, were free births. She swallowed the hiss his admission sparked in her. For such greatness to have arisen from free birth stock was unfathomable, and yet before her sat the man who would never lie to her or betray her. Their relationship was complicated. They loved each other, I am certain, in their own curious way, And yet they opposed each other, as I feel conflicts within myself. My clan nature, and yet my nature as the master of all humanity. I must fuse them, understand them, become one with them, and then, perhaps, I can become whole and worthy of what I have attained. He turned his head, able to see her in the corner of his eye. And yet, whenever I think I am close to being whole, I know there is something missing in my life. With that, I could put my finger on it. Is it a thing you need, my Ilkhan? She raised her chin and quelled the tremble in her voice. Or a person who will make you whole? Alaric rose from his chair and spun towards her. How dare you? He ejaculated. Suggest I need anyone? Horror knotted in her stomach. She extended both her hands towards him, her abject terror dropping her jaw. Neg, my Ilkhan! That is not what I meant! His eyes narrowed. What is it that you meant? Her heart pounded, and she did all she could to soften her voice. Her fingers, which had been splayed with the rictus of fear, curled in more gently, invitingly. It is, my Ilkhan, just that I see you so willfully, manfully, bearing a burden which would cripple any and all of the pretenders and dreamers who impotently wished to be in your place. To have done what you have done. Your commanding presence, your wisdom and charisma. They leave all around you in awe of who you are and what you have done. And the adoration is well warranted, and, I should say, often falls shy of that which you truly deserve. But, my Ilkhan, that same adoration creates a gulf between you and others. It makes you an island. I cannot describe the pain in my heart when I imagine, about the loneliness of your life. He rested his left hand on the back of his chair and, just for a heartbeat, his shoulders slumped. It can be difficult to be so distant from... It need not be, my Ilkhan, distant that it is. He averted his gaze from hers, casting his eyes down. But who would want to risk being close to me? Icarus flew too close to the sun and paid the ultimate price. Who would brave that danger? There are many, my Ilkhan, who would welcome the chance. She rose to her full height, her breast heaving. Dare I be so bold? She hesitated for a moment, then chose to cast caution to the wind. And I, my Ilkhan, should be first among them. The piece you just heard was only created as a result of the incredible audience that follows this channel. I made an absolutely astounding mistake in that I placed a bet against said audience, which I then lost. This resulted in me having to commission the main artwork you see here, which is Alaric without his shirt on. The piece was finished, unfortunately for me, and likely all of you, when I was at Adepticon, where I showed it off to Catalyst Game Labs. The best response, I think, was probably from Lauren Coleman, who just looked at it, and then at me, and asked, "But why?" This turns out to have been yet another terrible mistake, as you can now hear and see on full display. While I was at KerenskyCon and Adepticon, I had a great opportunity to hang out with the people from Catalyst Game Labs, and it was a fantastic time. Really, I mean, it was one of the best experiences of my life. I also got to hang out with the Kerensky backers, Battletech fans, and of course many of the writers and freelancers for Battletech. The evening that I showed everyone this incredible artwork by Koala Lorian, who I should point out is doing some incredible other artwork for the channel for a few projects that I have planned for next year, John Helfers, Michael Stackpole, Brian Young, and everyone else began hatching the ideas for a story. The next morning, Hungry Like the Wolf began to take form. Mike tormented and delighted everyone at breakfast with its beginnings. Well, it is now complete, and he posted it to his Patreon. I signed up for Scratch, the Patreon in question, just to see this unfold, and well, oh boy. For those who wish to have it, Mike's released it for free in a post there, and I'll be providing a link to that in the top pinned comment of this video. There are also more stories there than just Hungry Like the Wolf, though of course most of it is original fiction. I'm also going to just add, for a lot of my time there, I got to hang out with Brian and Mike, and doing that also may have led to me shooting my partner in the back on a CGL livestream. I'm still kind of sorry about that, Brent. But just getting to see their insights into the universe, storytelling, and writing most of all while having an incredible time, was the highlight of my adventure into Adepticon. I'm also going to be including a link to one of Michael's other books, which is called 21 Days to a Novel as well, just for anyone interested in writing in general. I have picked it up myself, though I have not read through it yet. As many of you know, I've been kind of busy putting out big videos again. Though I am hoping to get some downtime to read a ton of stuff for more recreation than just for the channel, at some point in the summer or early fall. And this is on my list for that. Writing is one of the activities I've enjoyed most in my life, so it seems like it'll be worthwhile to digitally thumb my way through my copy. However, with all of that said, I hope you all enjoyed this audiobook version of Hungry Like the Wolf. I am certain you must have. We will catch you all next time, in a more serious video. Than to be the vessel through which his future would flow. Jesus Christ. They loved each other, I am certain, in their own curious way. And yet they opposed one another. And yet they opposed each other. Oh no. Alaric rose from his chair and spun towards her. How dare you? Oh, dear God! He ejaculated. Her heart pounded, and she did all she could to soften her voice. Her fingers, which had been splayed over... her finger... Oh my God. There is an excerpt here at the end of this from Michael Stackpole that says, "Not sure I should apologize for that, or hope you are giggling as I certainly intended." or hope you are giggling as I certainly intended you should be. You should apologize regardless. I just need to put that out there.